Today's trailblazer is Karen Henken, and for the first time since the pandemic, our video series is actually living up to its name.
So this is your inaugural Trailblazing Trail event on a trail.
Yes, and you're my Trailblazing Woman.
I'm honored.
Oh, so happy.
Henken is known in professional circles as a fearless visionary. She's brilliant, the kind of friend you call on for advice, a contact, a good read, or a great hike. A Stanford MBA graduate who spent more than 20 years in Silicon Valley as an executive in high-tech management, she launched and grew international operations from startups to Fortune 500 companies. Trilingual, Karen is a sought-out speaker, teaching innovation and entrepreneurial studies at top universities worldwide. At the University of San Diego, she started the Master of Arts in Social Innovation at the Kroc School and School of Business. She's the founder of Like-Minded Women of San Diego, a leadership and social impact group, and recently co-founded the SupplyChainProject.org, a nonprofit providing technology-based solutions in food systems, medical equipment products, and wellness services. She's not afraid of snakes, is an accomplished equestrian jumper, all the while balancing a successful marriage and raising 2 children.
Okay, look at how beautiful this is.
Beautiful.
It's such a great disaster.
I caught up with her on the trails of the Torrey Pines State Reserve to talk about getting through challenging times and getting ready for the changes we'll see in 2021.
Well, I consider myself one of the lucky ones. I mean, I'm truthfully, as many of us are, I'm not worried about having to pay the rent and how I'm going to put food on the table. I really channel gratitude all the time because of that, but the number of people who are in crisis and at risk grows and grows and grows. I have been part of a world that's been pivoting and adapting and dealing with failure and picking itself back up again for my entire career, being in Silicon Valley, where startups fail all the time or reposition themselves or go after new markets or morph, or you fail altogether and you go on to the next one and you try to fail at least faster and more effectively. But this is a really, really challenging time when the resources that were there because of my deep level of involvement with the social impact space right now, whether it's nonprofits or organizations that are focused on social good, the resources have dried up. And the rapid impact on businesses closing and reopening, or revenue streams disappearing, or safety nets disappearing is really, really challenging for organizations and catching them by surprise. And so that's really part of what I've been really focusing on and teaching a lot of workshops and classes and lecturing on literally what I call adapting and pivoting in times of crisis right now.
And what is the biggest challenge when it comes to pivoting? What exactly, we keep hearing pivoting, what does that mean?
So interestingly, I looked that up today. I was like, what does pivoting mean? And it actually means like turning on a axle point. But the way that it's used in business and in the social sector is, how do you make change rapidly? And how do you adapt, mold yourself, find a different direction? And so that's how I look at pivoting, and I think all of us that talk about it, and it's a very used or maybe even overused word right now. The challenge is pivoting when change is so overwhelmingly fast that you don't know what's coming next. And everything from, as you know, San Diego just went to level 3 of the coronavirus 2 days ago. And so small businesses and nail salons and hair salons and gyms and people who rely on that income, they open and they close and they open and they close. Part of it is, how do you adapt if you can't find a next, if you can't find another opportunity? So that's what I do a lot of work with organizations, but it is also really, really hard.
So in a way, many of these businesses are going to have to reinvent themselves. They're not going to be able to pick it up or even pivot. They're going to have to start over.
Absolutely. And the question is, can they do that? Do they have the talent, the means, the resources? Can they survive in the process of doing that? It's really, really hard.
So when it comes to pivoting, what tips or what advice do you have for people who really are trying to survive and just trying to change enough and adapt enough to hang on?
Certainly to look for new ways to reach out to customers is one key way to do that. Another organization that I work with that was generating a huge amount of revenue in the promotional products arena, but also knew about supply chain. They turned around and started to source PPE products. They're actually one of the most successful social enterprises in our region.
And the PPE products are the products that medical folks
Yes.
use to protect themselves in the pandemic.
They were excellent at sourcing, so they turned around and did that. Or can you provide services that are really viewed as critical and necessary? Part of it is who is paying for what right now. Can you go to digital models? Can you go to online delivery models? Can you reach out to a different audience perhaps than you had already? And the question is, do you have enough resources to be able to survive in that process?
Mm-hmm. I know you, as a lecturer teaching entrepreneurism and social impact, that the mindset of many people has changed to try to do better for not only themselves but the world. Mm-hmm. What are you seeing in that regard? People really do care about the environment and about other people.
Absolutely. Well, that's part of what I have been both kind of holding the banner up in my own work. I came from a business background for years and years and years, and I'm the least technical person who ever sold technical products that was. But I know how to sell benefits, and I know how to really assess and understand customer needs. And so where I focused the last 9 years of my life in what I call my career 5.0 is where can business and social impact intersect. And increasingly what I have taught, what I have espoused, what I have coached is consumers increasingly care about social good as a component of a product that they choose. Whether it's, if you look in my purse and you see my Warby Parker glasses, which do a 1-for-1 model, or, Tom's Shoes started it, or Allbirds, which the same kind of thing. I mean, increasingly more and more companies that have a deeply embedded social good component of their DNA, and millennials in particular are consumers who choose that. And now, as this crisis has really escalated, consumers are saying we want companies to care about the environment. They've done all kinds of surveys across the world where 70 or 80% of consumers across all countries, across all demographics are saying the products we choose must have some kind of a social good component, or must at least show that they care about the environment and about human rights and other kinds of things that are key to how companies act responsibly.
Let me ask you a personal question. You have been successful in so many facets of your life, and I think a lot of people want to know what trait do you have, or what is it about you that brought you through Stanford grad school, your MBA there, then doing everything in academia, business, nonprofits, startups. What do you sleep?
I think I combine two things. One is I'm super tenacious. And one of the things that the dean at the Kroc School has always said to me, she calls me pleasantly tenacious, because I get onto something and I won't let go. But I try to do it as thoughtfully and diplomatically as I can. But when I have an idea or a passion, I don't let go of it. So that's one. I really do get extremely enthused and passionate about something, and I think you have to be driven by that. You have to feel it so deeply, and this is something that I want to do, that I want to make a difference. And the other is that it's always about paying it forward. I mean, you do that. I see that as well with, getting to know you these last several months. I think that if you're always paying it forward and you're thinking about that, it comes back 1,000-fold.
What are you excited and passionate about right now?
I continue to be really excited about the work I'm doing teaching in both the U.S. and globally, whether I'm working with nonprofits who are trying to figure out how to reinvent themselves, small businesses, and students. I see students, with this class I teach in Colombia at a business school, that is the business school where the top entrepreneurs from Colombia have come out of that business program.
Wow.
And yet these students also want to learn how they can be good corporate citizens, deeply embedded in ethics and solid values. And as I teach around the world, I see that, and the hope that comes out of that. And whether I work in 2 universities in Colombia, one that works with very, very low-income students, and their passion for creating a better country, and then those students who come from more affluent means, and they still feel that way. And I've taught in Vietnam the same thing. People who want to make a difference for their communities, and that can be here, absolutely here as well. When I see the young people I work with who are so committed to making the next generation succeed or make their community succeed. And they're really thoughtfully relentless about that.
What do you think the greatest need is right now in San Diego? You are so entrenched in so many organizations. What is our big deficit here in America's finest city?
So when I started out this work in social innovation and social entrepreneurship 9 years ago, literally 9 years ago September, one of the things that we recognized, and some of my colleagues were really part of that and mentoring me, was we are a very deeply siloed, we have historically been a deeply siloed community here. We have a long history of military, which is so important to our economy and we are also proud of, but it's also been very separate in so many ways. And now it's far more integrated with much of our society, with government taking a greater role, with education, with business. And I've seen this really important evolution of the sectors coming together to work together to make change. And that was not the case when I started this 9 years ago. So the more that we can create that what's called cross-sector collaboration, because if you do it in silos, then nobody collectively will ever really make a change. So it has to be about working together.
And is that something government officials have to be responsible for, or can just your average everyday citizen make a contribution?
I think everybody can. And whether it's going out and volunteering in the community to make a difference, whether it's about seeing where the gaps are right now, things like, kids who are home and don't necessarily have the means and his schools are not available to them. Can you do something as simple as online tutoring? Can you go and work at a food bank and help out and support that? And it is harder because COVID makes it that much harder, but there's so much we can do as well. And I think the level of community engagement and volunteerism has really, really grown. And I see that in the youngest people as well as in, we have a huge retirement community here. And our military and former military are some of the most engaged volunteers. And I know you saw that in your work before as well. Some of the most engaged volunteers in our whole community. Mm-hmm. So I think it's about everybody taking on this perspective that we all have a role to play together.
So are you optimistic about the future?
I think more optimistic than not. I think we have huge challenges right now. The coronavirus is spiking at unprecedented levels, and we definitely need leadership to help us get to a point where we can start to control that. I think the good news about vaccines coming, but I think we have a lot of challenging times ahead. And again, that's where cross-sector collaboration has to happen. And I see big companies stepping up as part of creating change, and government. I certainly am proud to be a Californian these last many months and see what our governor and in fact our board of supervisors and others, I think they've all really stepped up in incredibly challenging times. So I'm more optimistic than not, but I also think there are incredible challenges. And there are so many people in food lines right now and others that are so vulnerable. We need to step up to help those people more.
I know you are active not only cerebrally but physically. Your horse, your equestrian, jumping horses.
You don't do that anymore.
No, I don't.
But you do a lot of exercise. So what do you think? We take a little
Absolutely.
walk around the trail?
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, look at how beautiful this is.
It is beautiful.
It's such
Look
a great
at that sky.
de-stressor.
Look at the sky.